Welcome back to Latin. We lock lesson 31, page 255. We're going to learn an irregular verb, pharaoh, and we're also going to learn another thing to do with subjunctives, and that is in cum clauses. So you already know cum is a preposition that means with, and it's followed by the ablative in that case. But it's also used as a conjunction, and conjunctions are words like and, but, when, although, etc. Words that conjoin two parts, two thoughts to make one sentence. So cum, when it's followed by the indicative, just means when. So here's an example. Cum eum videbus eum cognosces. When you will see him. Videbus is just a future indicative active. So when you will see him, you will recognize him. I can't spell English very well. You will recognize him. But when cum is followed by the subjunctive, it makes a circumstantial clause. And the circumstances, so it's telling you the circumstances under which the main clause happened. So the circumstances might be based, it's going to be based on the context. It could be causal, so cum could mean since. It could be adversative, so it could mean, cum could mean although, or it could just be kind of generally circumstantial. Cum could just mean when. And so here are some examples. Cum hoc fecissit ad te fugit. So fecissit is an imperfect subjunctive, isn't it? Because I simply have a pluperfect subjunctive. I have the perfect infinitive with a personal ending on it. So that's what we just learned in chapter 30. That's the pluperfect subjunctive. So cum hoc fecissit. So hoc fecissit is he had done this. So it could be when he had done this, since he had done this, although he had done this, ad te fugit. He fled to you. So maybe this one is just regular circumstantial. When he had done this, he fled to you. But if there was more context, if the story was talking about how he had done something against you, so, I don't know, he burned down your house. Cum hoc fecissit, although he had done this, he fled to you. So it's really dependent on context. And so here's another example. Cum hoc sciret, paruit eius iuvare. So sciret is imperfect subjunctive. It's the present infinitive plus a personal ending. So although he knew this, he was able to help them. Oh, so maybe it's because, since he knew this, he was able, paruit, to help, iuvare, them, eos. So here's an example of when it can mean since, when it's causal. Since he knew this, he was able to help them. And here's cum hoc sciret, same thing. But now I've got tamen over here. That means nevertheless. So here the idea is, although he knew this, nevertheless, miset milites, he sent soldiers. So figuring out what cum means when it's followed by the subjunctive is really based on the context. Sometimes the context is really clear, like here we have nevertheless. So obviously the idea is, although he knew this, nevertheless, he sent soldiers. A whole lot of the time in the reading that we're going to be doing, cum is going to mean since, and a whole lot of the time it's going to mean when. But it can certainly also mean although. So that seems very confusing to us in English because it's all the same word and we think of these as very separate ideas. But in Latin, they were just less specific with it, and they let the overall context determine what the meaning was. So, no new forms there. That's nice, but now we get a bunch of new forms. On page 256 and 257, we're going to get an irregular verb and that verb is fero, fere, tuli, latum. Fero, fere, tuli, latum. So you'll recall these four principal parts. These are especially important when you're learning an irregular verb. Those four principal parts, that's the present active indicative. That's the first one, fero. And then it's the present active infinitive, fere. So present active indicative, first person singular, fero. Present active infinitive, fere. The perfect active indicative, tuli. So that's, the fero means I bear or I carry. So I carry, fero, to carry, fere. I carried, tuli. And then latum is the perfect passive participle, having been carried, a thing that was carried, latum. And then page 256 and 257, you have all the various things to learn for this verb that you need to make cards for. So fero, first, fert, ferimus, fertus, ferent. Again, rather regular, except the I drops out that you would expect over here. The imperfect is formed off the base fer ebam, ferebas, ferebat, etc. So the forms that you're to learn in this chapter are on page 256 and 257. But you're basically learning a whole verb, but it's not like it's all irregular. There are a few irregularities, and he has especially pointed those out in bold type. So you need to make your charts for that, make your paradigm forms for that, so that you're ready to go. Once you've made those, and once you've made your flashcards for vocabulary, and you've had some time to learn that over the course of a day, I'd like you to do translations numbers 1 and 3 on page 258, and then come back to the video for the translations, correct them, and then you'll be ready for the quiz.